Hello, my name is Jean and I am a knitter. I was following my trip to Master Hand Knitter, but realized that it wasn't a destination I wanted to arrive at for multiple personal reasons. And I learned something on the journey that I took so far, and I don't regret it, but I don't need to keep walking down the wrong road now, do I? So, I recently saw a video where the woman went into great and sometimes annoying detail about the items that she carried in her notions box. Now, the detail was annoying to me because I have a different set of information already in my mental toolbox and therefore did not need to have some things explained in the manner that she chose to explain them. But everybody has their own set of crayons. So, I spotted these gift card boxes recently, and they were inexpensive. So I said, I will get them and I will try them because I need something to keep all of my little things that I want right there with me when I'm knitting, all in one place. So I said, I'll give these a try, and so far I really, really like them. One of the things I like about them is, yes, they are a metal that works with magnets. So I have taken one of my Disney collectible pins that I adore. I'm an Eeyore fan. And using some, I don't know, probably E6000, because that's probably what I had lying around. I stuck one of those uber fancy, powerful, oh my gosh, it will hold you upside down to the roof or something. I don't know. They're really strong magnets. And I do keep a nail file in there. And the nail file works to hold some other things in place. I keep a pair of embroidery scissors from, these are DMC embroidery scissors, but I have many, many, many pairs of Ginger embroidery scissors, which I adore. We won't go into my embroidery history because it's actually longer than my knitting history and dates back to the mid-60s. But good quality embroidery scissors will cut through just about any yarn with ease, and sometimes they'll even do metals. They're sharp. They snip well at the tip, and you should keep them cased in something, and you should never let small children near them. I keep, let's see. Because I like to bury ends as I go, rather than wait and do them all at the very, very end. So this type of needle works extremely well for burying ends. It's a tapestry needle, so it's not sharp. I also keep a fix-it hook, which allows me to capture dropped stitches rather easily. I keep, because I use Chalgu needles, I keep a Chalgu gauge, which has a ruler built in, and it's not a flexible one. Whoopee! And I keep 3x5 index cards, which I have cut in half in a little stack so that I can use lines to keep track of my notes, because sometimes you really do need to write something down. I do not keep a pen or pencil in here because most frequently I'm wearing overalls and I keep a pen or pencil or writing tool in my overalls. And at my knitting chair, I keep colored calligraphy markers because I'm that kind of a person, because I like calligraphy markers. I like the chisel, woo, excuse me, chisel tip. Yes, a long time back, like 6 months ago, I had COVID. And one of the things it has left me with is an occasional shortness of breath, which is gradually going away. Yahoo! But that's what I keep with me when I'm knitting, in theory. I also keep a large number of stitch markers that can be removed and replaced because I use them as counting markers. I do not count to 360, oh crumb. 1, 2, 3. No, I count from 0 to 50. I place a marker. I count again to 50. I place a marker. And I like to alternate colors so that my 50s are one color and my 100s are another color. I also use the colored ring markers that were marketed by Coco Knits. And I actually got 2 boxes, but I dumped them both into a single box. And I really like these markers for several reasons. One, they're actually coated metal. Why do I like coated metal markers? I don't know. Maybe it's because if I drop one, I can rescue it with a magnet and I don't have to go fishing. The other reason I like them, they come in different colors. And the colors are different enough that you don't necessarily confuse them, one color for another. And they are thin, meaning I have some ring markers that should be absolutely wonderful, but the darn things are so thick and bulky that on a fine gauge yarn, you'll end up with weird stitch sizes. So I use my thin Coco Knits ring markers, and I also use my colors of my Coco Knits markers to help me identify if at this marker I am supposed to increase, green is growing, or decrease, red reducing. Don't ask me why. Stop on red, reduce on red, slow down on red. I don't know. It just works in my brain. But that also means that I use my cool colors, my blues, my greens, my purples, to indicate increasing, and my warmer colors, reds, yellows, oranges, to indicate decreasing. So I'm not stuck with just red and green, fortunately, and I'm also not colorblind, which I am really grateful about. But that's what lives in the little box that goes inside my knitting bag. These boxes don't come by themselves. You can get them in packages of 3. They don't close tightly. They open and close easily. So if you don't have the kind of knitting bag that has a little pocket you can slide it into, they're going to fall open. But that's okay. You do you. You find your own box. You put whatever you want in your Notions box. I put what I like in mine. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was I'm getting down to the ends of my balls of yarn that are the first balls of yarn that I've been working with on this shawl. I'm a little freaked out because in theory this is a 50-50. It isn't really. There's been a few extra rows in my main color than there are in my contrast color. So I should be running out pretty evenly. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't really mind. I have enough. And I got out my yarn winder. I have, by brand, yes, I own a Stanwood yarn winder. I'm not gonna, well, I could reach down and grab it. Don't worry about it. It winds without fail a very snug, even ball of yarn, but it's also very sensitive to jerks and snags from the unwinding skein. I don't worry too much about that because I am one of those people that likes to wind their balls of yarn twice. This skein of yarn has been wound only once. This one has been wound twice. Now you might think there's not very much difference between the two, but I can tell you that this one is quite firm and dense, and this one is much softer and fluffier. And because I am a pull from the middle girl, it's going to get even softer and fluffier very, very quickly. However, I've also realized that because I am a pull from the middle girl, the outside of my ball of yarn shows wear. It gets abraded. It becomes fluffy. I don't actually like it. What I'm going to do later today is toddle off to my local yarn shop and see if they have something which is called a yarn bra. Basically, it is a mesh knit bag, similar to the bags you get to cover. They expand. You could use them to cover the kind of thing you get a turkey in sometimes. Remember that? But they're smaller and designed for a ball of yarn. You put it on your ball of yarn. You can draw from the center easily. Yes, you will get yarn barf when you draw from the center, but I'm used to that. But it will also protect the outside of the ball of yarn. Yay! Last but not least, this is the beast I'm working on. And I actually looked ahead, planned ahead, thought ahead. Do I get any bonus points for that? And realized that at such and such a row, the end of this phase of the brioche, I was going to need to have a very specific number of stitches. Oop, we're looking at the back side. Let's look at the front. I was going to need a very specific number of stitches, and if I were smart, I would put my counting stitch markers in ahead of the game, and before I got to the final row, do my add and subtract, extra yarn over, squish in, and extra decrease, who knew, so that I would end with the exact number of stitches I needed in each section and be correct. I also planned ahead and put in, there it is, a lifeline. Because I did all of the early counting and correcting, I have had absolutely no need of this lifeline. But I will also say that the next section that I am working on is a whole lot more simple than the brioche, and I doubt I would have ever needed a lifeline for that section. So if you're going from a complicated pattern to a simple pattern, maybe you'll need a lifeline. If you're going from a simple pattern to a complicated pattern, I would strongly suggest a lifeline, no matter how much time you spend counting and preparing. That first row in a complicated pattern can be the worst. And with that, I'm going to say, have a good life, keep knitting, and I'll see you next week.